When I was there, there was 11 zones, 7 of which were stakes, and the others were districts. There are some of the stakes have like mostly wards, and then 1 or 2 branches that are still growing. Growth is really going good. One of the stakes actually might have gotten split by now, so there might be 12 zones, but it was about to split when I was there. It is kind of the central part of Luzon, which is the North Island of the Philippines. It has a lot of inland area, which is a lot of rice fields and a lot of just kind of nice mellow places on the inside, and then it's got a coastal line as well. The coastal line goes pretty far up the coast, even though the mission is kind of central. It goes up the coast because and the reason for that is because there's a mountain range right there, and they can't access that coastal line from the other missions. You have to go down to our mission and up, and so that's included there. So it's a little funny shape, but it's pretty cool. Like I said, there's lots of growth in the church. The mission grew, I think, by like 30 to 50% when I was there. So I don't know what it is now, but it was growing a lot, and we had a lot of missionaries, a lot of good work. In the Philippines, like the main language is Tagalog, but because of where it's located, Angeles kind of dips into Pampanga, which is one of the provinces there. So they do speak Kapampangan also, but you won't have to learn that because like everybody speaks Tagalog and it's pretty easy. And then in the northern part, it's a little bit more rare, but they do speak Ilocano as well. We learned those just for fun, just like catchphrases. Hi, how are you? It makes the people feel a little bit more endeared when you're not just learning their national language, but when you're learning their actual dialect as well. So we would try to learn just catchphrases like that. We'd never teach a whole lesson in it because it's too hard and it's a lot older language. However, they do provide Books of Mormon in both of those languages, so you'll be able to pass those out and give those to the people in their native language if they so desire. A lot of times though, the Kapampangan and Ilocano both, the Book of Mormon is very old. It's a very old language, and a lot of their modern words are slang now. So a lot of times they have a harder time understanding that. And even sometimes with Tagalog, you'll see like there are words that use in the gospel, things like atonement and stuff that they don't really understand. And so you'll have to explain that in the language to them. And sometimes they're even more familiar with the English terms than they are the Tagalog terms. So it'll be a fun experience. So Angeles, they joke around and they say that like Angeles is the Las Vegas of the Philippines, and it's true. There's a lot of prostitution in Angeles. So in fact, there's like a whole area where we're not allowed to go as missionaries because it's just too, I don't know, not violent, but it's just too grotesque for missionaries, not a good, wholesome environment. So there was that area that we weren't allowed to go for. As far as housing, Angeles will vary differently. So you've got like a lot of the rich, wealthy people. The Filipino dream, unlike the American dream, is to leave the country and make money outside the country because the exchange rate is way high, and then send money home. So then your family can live rich. So a lot of people go work like on cruise ships as somebody like a chef or something, and that way they don't have to get like residency in another country or anything, but they can work for like 6 months at a time, and so they won't see their family for 6 months, and then they'll come home for 2 weeks, and then they'll go for 6 months. So as a result, you get a lot of really rich people in Angeles where they'll have like brick homes with really nice corrugated tin that's like painted nice colors and the form to be very pretty and look almost like Victorian homes here. Very big screen TVs, nice cars, the works. But then you'll go down to like the river where some of the less fortunate people live, and they're basically just squatters. They've just got a little hut made from bamboo and tin, and a little bit of extra tin roofing that they got somewhere. And they live and they raise chickens, and they just kind of make ends meet with whatever they can. I mean, dad will go get a construction job here, or mom will get a sewing job there, and they'll just kind of make ends meet. As far as missionary homes, the missionaries are always in pretty good homes. They make sure that you're in an apartment usually that's all brick, that's got electricity, that's got you've got fans all the time, you've got a tin roof. You never have to live like in a hut or anything like that. Like I thought I would, but you don't. You have all of the amenities that an American home would, except maybe air conditioning, but you don't need it because you have fans and it's so humid. And shopping, they have the local market, which everybody just kind of goes and sells stuff. It's pretty good for just about anything you need to get. But if you're not comfortable buying there, like sometimes like the meat they'll have just butchered it this morning and it'll be out there. So some of the Americans are kind of sketchy about doing it. I liked it. It was cheap. It was easy. It was affordable. But they also have, in the bigger cities, they have malls where you can get just about everything you need. Any American product, Chips Ahoy, Oreos, they have all of that stuff. You just have to get to a mall and go. As far as transportation, there's basically 3 methods of public transportation and walking. Walking is by far the most popular with missionaries, just because it saves time, and you can like contact on the way, and you can get really good at it. You can know your area really well through walking. If you're going to a district meeting or something like that, though, a lot of times you'll take a trike or a jeepney or a bus. So a bus is just like a bus here. They go a lot faster, and they're a little bit taller off the ground because of flooding, so that the waters just kind of go under. But buses are kings of the road. They have the biggest engines. They go the fastest. They're the way to go if you can. The next step down is a jeepney, which is basically a World War II Jeep that they spread and then put a cover over. They're really fancy looking, and then you get in them, and they're just kind of like regular cars. You sit facing inward, so your back is towards the outside and you're facing inward, and then you just pass the money up to the driver and he collects it, and then he'll give you change if you pay too much or whatever. And then the third way is tricycle, which is basically just a motorcycle with a little side cart, and that will have like it's like rated for 6 people, but you'll see like as many as 13 people on one. Or sometimes, like, if you're in a hurry, you can just pay the driver like whatever amount you guys agree on or whatever's fair, and just take you and your companion wherever. So like if you're in a little less dense area, you can do that. No, Angeles is built pretty much around Clark Air Force Base, which sprung up in World War II. It's right along MacArthur Highway, which is named after General MacArthur, who basically took his troops and was in the Philippines and then got beat pretty bad and left, and then he vowed to come back, and he came back and marched his troops up the Philippines basically, and he went up Luzon, and when he went up Luzon, he kind of blazed a path, and then they put a highway there, and now it's called MacArthur Highway. So Angeles is basically on that. You'll use that a lot. That gets from about the top of the mission to the bottom of the mission, and you'll use that a lot. And then there's little offshoots that you can go to the other areas, the other zones. As far as that goes, city life is a little bit different than country life. City life is a little harder because people are busy. It's a little bit more of a struggle for the people there, so they're a little less inclined to listen to you than if they're in like the countryside. But it also means that there's a lot more amenities. There's a lot more things that the people have that the country people don't, which sometimes is good because like they live a more blessed life, but sometimes it's hard for the missionary work because they're so busy with doing whatever it is they're doing. So I'm pretty sure it's low down on the list because I know that I think Manila is number 1, and then like Davao is number 2, and then Butuan is like number 3, and then after that it's like Bacolod and Baguio and a couple others, and then Angeles. So it's fairly big, but it's also not like marked among the biggest or anything. Cool. It's mostly known just for being Sin City of the Philippines. The culture is great. The Filipinos are the best, I think, in the world. They have, because they're a third world country, they're very humble and very nice. And because they're also humble and they live in such humble circumstances, they're willing to share the world with you. And even though the world may not seem like a lot to somebody coming from out of their country, it's a lot to them. One of the cultural things is Filipinos will never eat the last thing on the plate. Like if you have some food out, they'll never eat the last rice. They'll always leave it for somebody else because they're caring and they're thinking of others. Same thing if you come into their home and you look thirsty, even if they don't have like juice or something, they'll go out and buy some juice with like whatever they have and share it with you. They're the nicest people. They're an Asian country, so of course they have a lot of respect to their elders, and they've got a lot of that Asian culture, but they're also third world, so they're very, very humble and very respectful in all they do. They're just the nicest people ever. You don't really get your door slammed in your face ever because they're so nice. You will have people turn you down, and especially in the city, it gets a little bit more, people are a little bit more busy, so they're a little bit more edgy, and they're a little bit more harder to get into the home. But with Filipinos, you almost always get a first appointment. Like when you knock doors, you'll almost always be able to walk in their door. The problem is the second and third time, they are so concerned about your feelings and how you feel. They don't want to turn you down, so they'll either just hide or avoid you and try to like not make contact, rather than tell you up front, like, hey, we're not interested in the gospel right now. They'll just be like, oh, that's cool, but I got to go to my grandma's or whatever. And they'll make excuses. They'll be very polite. So sometimes you have to kind of feel that out and kind of feel where they are, and just kind of understand where they're coming from, because they're too nice to say no. Basically, they're just really happy. That can be a really good thing for missionary work, because sometimes like they're just so like easygoing that when you set appointments, you can go and you can have those appointments and they're great. But sometimes that becomes a bad thing, because then they commit. Like if you ask them like, oh, will you read the Book of Mormon? They'll be like, yes, of course I'll read the Book of Mormon. You're the best. I'll read everything. And then you come back the next day and you're like, so did you read? And they're like, oh, I totally didn't. And they're just committing basically to help please you and to help you feel better about yourself, not because they're actually committed to doing anything, which is very nice and very polite, but also kind of makes it a little bit harder to read them and understand where they're coming from and their point of view. So they're really nice, really good people, but sometimes you just got to work with them and kind of be just straight and be like, hey, look, we know like you're a person, you got feelings. How do you feel about this? And they'll be honest. They're really nice. Like I said, I've literally seen Filipinos like stop what they're doing and come help the missionaries. A lot of times you'll get people who don't even know you out in the countryside, and you'll be walking down a long country lane trying to get to your next appointment. Somebody will pull over, elders, jump in, and you're like, all right. So you get on their little farm tractor or whatever it is they're driving at the time, and you ask them like, so are you a member? Like, how did you know we're elders? And they're like, nah, the elders just taught me once back like 4 years ago, and they were really nice, so I saw you guys walking and I thought, oh, it's too hot to walk. So, and like they're just super nice that way. So super hospitable in all ways possible. Everything there is rice. Everything like they serve, because it grows in abundance and they can make it easily and everything. So like you'll have, for Filipinos, probably 80 to 90% of their meal is rice, and then they have what they call ulam, which is basically just anything that goes with rice. So their primary ingredients for everything is like vinegar and soy sauce and onions and garlic. And with that, they'll make just about everything. They'll do pork that way, and with different variations. They have a thing called adobo, which is like probably the like national food of the Philippines. They can make it in pork or chicken, or they make it with eggs, or they make it just with about anything else too. And so that is really good because it's just got a really good taste to it. Not sweet like barbecue, but it's got a good flavor to it. Then they'll have like, they're really good at cooking vegetables in a appetizing way. Before my mission, I used to like hate vegetables. Like every other little kid, oh, please don't make me eat vegetables. But when you get there, they're really good at cooking it. They also have a couple of soup dishes that they'll still serve with rice. So it'll be like a lot of watery soup, and usually like chicken and maybe like some leafy greens. And then they'll put like bananas in there because those grow in abundance. And then they'll pour it all over rice, and it'll kind of break up the rice and make it kind of a soupy, ricey. And it's really, really good. So just basically chicken and pork are their substance for meat, and then very rarely do they eat cow. It's very, very hard to find steak or anything like that over there. But with the chicken and the pork, you don't need it. Eggs are a big part of their meal, and then they have a lot of fruits and vegetables. Like you'll see mango trees growing in the middle of the street, and you'll be like, oh man, some mango would be good. And some little Filipino kid will run up the tree for you, grab some mangoes and pull them down and give them to you and be like, oh, here, we got thousands, like go for it. And so that's always nice. You get free food everywhere you go. Like just because you be like literally like walking down the street and look, oh, there's a banana tree, and like the old man owning it will be like, you want some bananas? They're free. They're just growing here. I can't eat them all before they go bad. So it's really, really cool because they're really open with that. They also have a lot of juice. Because their water is not cool and it's not like crystal or anything. It's not like super. They have a lot of juices, so they'll have like Tang, and Tang doesn't just come like here in America. It's only orange flavor, right? Well, there it's not. They've got like, it's like their Kool-Aid basically. They've got grape and apple and cherry and all kinds of different flavors. So you'll drink a lot of that. They also have like a lot of chocolate milks and stuff like that they mix in with their water. Definitely go for stuff that'll last. I made the mistake because I'm from California. I didn't go to Missionary Mall. I went to like Kmart and Walmart and stuff like that, and that stuff was great. It was nice, but after about 6 months, it wore out. So definitely go to somewhere like, if you're getting shoes, get Echoes. I know that they're expensive and that you're like, oh, why should I do that? But I had a friend who had Echoes. He wore them his whole mission, and they lasted him up until maybe 3 months before his mission. I think he maybe got new ones. But I had to get new shoes every 6 or 7 months because I wasn't buying Echoes. I was just buying like whatever Kmart brand or whatever, and then once I got over there, I'd have my mom send me some. So definitely with shoes, buy Echoes or some other durable brand that will last. And same thing with pants. Get something that's durable. Don't worry too much about I was super worried about the heat and like it being able to breathe. I would definitely recommend like getting something that's light, but get something that's durable, because that's going to be more effective for you. After a couple washes, when they hand wash it, it'll get pretty threadbare. You'll start to get rips in it, and like where the belt rubs in the back or on the armpits where it rubs. So definitely go for durability there. As far as ties go, don't take silk unless you're willing to only wear it until it gets dirty, because you can't wash silk over there. If you will bring like a polyester or cotton tie, you can wash it multiple times and wear it all the time. If you bring silk, that's fine. Just be aware that it might bleed through to your shirt, or like if it gets wet, it might bleed the color, or it might not be able to get worn again if it gets wet in the rain or something. So it's kind of dicey with silk ties. I wouldn't do it. I didn't do it, and I found it easier. Because they're super frugal and everything, they save every part. So we had like chicken blood, which is like dried and then like kind of put into almost a jello form, and they grill it. It's pretty good. Also like chicken intestine, chicken head, chicken feet, every part of the chicken they eat. So I've eaten a lot of that stuff. Probably the craziest I had was dog. Unbeknownst to me, they had passed around this food, and they're like, try it, it's delicious. And I tried some of them. Kind of tastes chewy, but okay, spicy, oh, it's okay. And then afterwards they told us, oh yeah, Elder, you ate dog. And a little bit gross, but it's pretty interesting. It's not good. I mean, it's not bad. It's not bad like tasting. It's just a weird idea to think like, I ate a dog. Like, that could be my pet. The most dangerous things are just the storms. Every now and then you'll get like a nice storm with some wind and rain, and then it'll flood your area. And like, it's not like super dangerous walking in the wind and rain per se. Like sometimes it is if it's a big storm. But where we were in Angeles, because it's so landlocked and it's so inland, usually you're pretty safe. Usually what you're dealing with is the aftermath. And just walking in that rainwater, you got to be careful because you can get diseases from it. But as far as like safety with people, there's not a lot of danger like going on. Like there's not a lot of robberies or anything. People are usually pretty nice, and Filipinos really love Americans because it's a revenue source. So they're not gonna like mess with robbing them or putting them in danger. They're very concerned about your safety and especially in the Angeles area. Near the end of my mission, just walking down the street one day and just realizing how much I love all of the people there, and how much the Lord loves all of the people there. And if he loves all of those people, how much must he love me? And then I loved them. And it was just this like, I really felt charity and the pure love of Christ at that moment. And that was probably one of the things that affected me, and I was able to carry through throughout the rest of my mission, because I could reflect on that and kind of, oh yeah, the Lord loves everybody. Great. Yeah. So over there's this word that they use that's like literally translated, it means death, but like they use it as, oh no, like, oh no, you're gonna get hurt. And so there was this one time I was trying to express to these little kids like, you're close to getting an oh no, like, because they were close to falling and hurting themselves. And so I said it, but it came out wrong because I conjugated it wrong and whatnot, and it came out as, you're close to death. And the kids just kind of looked at me, and my companion like just laughed and then like stopped laughing and walked away. And then like I followed him, and he was like, Elder, you said that all wrong. And he explained it to me. Pretty funny, but pretty sad for the kids. They thought I was threatening them. Most extreme weather, we had one, it's a typhoon, that's what they call it. We had one typhoon come through. It happened during the night, so we were able to stay in. And I mean, it was pretty strong winds. Like I think they got up to about 70 miles an hour. You could hear the tin on the top of the houses flopping down. You could hear all kinds of things. We went outside, and the wind doesn't just like blow in one direction. It'll blow left, and then blow right, and then blow forward and back. And we're just like, whoa, this is crazy. So we went back in, and it started at about 8 o'clock, and then went to probably like 4 the next morning. And then we got up at 6, and everything was just like, all of the houses that are made of brick were sturdy, and they were all still fine. But trees everywhere had fallen over onto the houses, and then the houses that were made of bamboo, a lot of them fell over. They didn't like blow away. They just kind of like tipped over. So we were able to go. It was fun because we were able to go do a lot of community service projects and help clean up the mess and help rebuild homes and chop down the trees that had fallen. And it was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun. That was a Saturday, so we pretty much all day just spent serving the people. We would start with ward members and go like work in somebody's house, and then if we got it all the way that it needed to be, we'd go to their neighbors. And it was a cool way to meet people. But that was probably the most extreme for me. Yeah, one of the hardest things is just seeing somebody who you've grown so close to and who's so nice to you, and who like I said, the Filipinos are very hospitable. So every time you go over, they're like, "Oh, elder, let me buy you merienda," which is like, it's basically snack time. So the hardest thing is just like when you meet somebody like that and you love them and they're so dear to your heart, but then they like aren't progressing and they aren't doing the steps that you want them to progress in the gospel. You know, they're not going to church, they're not reading the scriptures. They're still super nice to you, but you have to like kind of like make that judgment call and be like, okay, now is just not their time for the gospel. It'll come later. And it's super hard leaving that and just being like, okay, like I love you and I don't want to give up on you. But when your companion has like the sense and they're like, hey, we should stop and start working with more people that are progressing, and it's kind of hard just to let go. Because washing clothes without a washing machine, like we had to learn how to do that. A lot of times like we'd have people we'd pay to do it, but there was a couple areas where we had to wash by hand. Learned how to do that. Learned how to wield a machete really well. They have those over there, so you have to, everything they do is with a machete basically. Like they'll chop down bamboo with it, take it to their home, and then use the other end of it to nail in a nail. So you learn how to use tools as they weren't designed. Yeah. Well, when I opened my mission call, it was super scary. I thought like I was going to go to the islands where there would be nothing and there would just be hurricane after hurricane and I was going to die. And, you know, I watched The Other Side of Heaven, so I was pretty sure the bottoms of my feet were going to get eaten off and all this stuff was going to happen. Let me just tell you, it's not that way. It's the best mission in the world. You'll have everything that you need and nothing that you don't need. And that is like the best because you don't have as many distractions, but you have everything that you need to preach the gospel. My advice would be get to know Preach My Gospel inside and out, and make sure that you read the scriptures, especially the Book of Mormon, because that will help you grow your testimony and help you answer their questions as best as possible. The Filipinos, they know and love the Bible very well. So if you know that, that is definitely a plus, but it's better to help them grow their testimonies through the Book of Mormon. I know that the Book of Mormon is true from my mission, from having taught so much from it, and I would definitely encourage everybody to read that and preach my gospel. Those are two of the things that will help you the most. In addition, don't worry about like where you're going and what's going to happen. I worried a lot about like the experiences that I was going to have and like bad things that were going to happen to me. It won't. Like it'll just be the best time. It'll be the greatest time for you to just give up your life and serve the Lord. And just if you think about it that way, if you just think about serving the Lord, then it'll become the best. And just lose yourself in the work, as President Hinckley says. I know the church is true. I've gained a testimony of that. I know that we're led and guided by a modern day prophet, and that the authority that we have today, the priesthood, was given to us by Jesus Christ through our prophet Joseph Smith, who restored the gospel. And I also know that because of Christ and his atonement, that we'll be able to do all things. There will be times in your mission where you'll go, man, this is so hard. But I know that if you turn to the Lord and you ask for him to help you and you ask for him to impart upon you a piece of that atonement, that he will definitely help you. He's done so with me, and I know that if he did so with me, that he'll definitely do so with you. And that would be my final advice.